All right, everybody, welcome back to the Steel Wire podcast. It's December 12th, 6:03 p.m. I'm joined today with my father again, Tim. We're going to preview the Patriots game real quick. Bummer last week, but we're moving on. This game's full of history. Been a bunch of battles between these two teams. Dad, what do you think about the Patriots?
Well, this is always one of the scariest games of the year for me. You know, Patriots are such a great team, and they always have our number. You know, when we have played them. You know, so it's always a tough game. They're just very smart and disciplined. You know, and they play a brand of football where they never seem to hurt themselves. So it's hard to capitalize. You know, when the other team's not making many mistakes, and when you have a quarterback like Brady, you know, they're never out of a game, and there's always a chance for them to win. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, especially only being a half game ahead of the Ravens. Ravens playing in Tampa this week. Patriots coming to us, playing in Pittsburgh. So this is a couple stats that have accrued over the last, decade, I guess you could say, of them playing. Last time Ben beat Brady was Week 8 of 2011. So it's been a while. In 10 games, Brady has 8 wins, 70% completion rate. He's got 25 touchdowns and 4 picks. Ben has just 2 wins, 64% completion. He's thrown 20 touchdowns and 10 picks in the 2. So that's kind of they're both potential Hall of Fame quarterbacks, you know, definitely Brady. Ben's definitely got an argument to be made. So between that, Brady's completion rate this year, he's at 65%, Ben's at 67%. Ben's got 600 more passing yards. Ben's got 5 more touchdowns thrown this year, 7 more picks, and they've both been sacked the same amount of time. So, what do you think are some key factors for the game?
Well, just basing it off of how our pass defense has looked lately, It's a little scary how efficient Brady is. You know, how smart he is. So smart. You know, he's very smart with his passes. So it is a little scary, knowing that our secondary is as hurting as it is.
Yeah, secondary is beat up. This honestly our team as a whole. I feel like we talk about some of the same stuff sometimes, but this whole Boswell thing, the team lacking energy. There's just I think right now there's more internal issues with the team than there is scouting a team. You know what I mean? I feel like if we were to make 3 key factors, you know what I mean? I think 2 of the 3 would easily be just team related to us versus. You know, these are the 3 things we need to do to beat the Patriots. It's more like these are the 2 things we need to take care of within ourselves, and this is the one thing we could take care of as an extra. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's kind of weird. The 2 comparisons that Pittsburgh's kind of been compared to is kind of like the Seattle Seahawks with Pete Carroll. You know, Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll's coaching scheme's kind of the same. You know, they're kind of players coach. You know, they're kind of all in. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, watching the Seattle game, you know, Pete Carroll's got his guys fired up. You know, even though it's a 3-0 game and it's tight, you know, those guys are darn it, I suck. These guys are all rallied up and playing strong and tight. You know, and they're wanting to win. You can just see the will to win in them. They're tackling. They're out there hitting people. You know, they're very patient. The run game, you know, offensively, but you watch Pittsburgh, you know, and it's just dead on the sidelines. We're going against the Raiders, 3-and-out, you know, and they score on us, and there's just no emotion. There's just no, you know, that attack mode, you know. So I hope Tomlin can try to rally him and get him going. And I hate to blame stuff just on a kicker. Some of these games shouldn't even be that close. You wouldn't think, you know. Yeah. It's just, I think, just going there nonchalant, half-assed, just thinking, we can just show up and beat the Raiders, and you know, we really don't show up. Yeah. So it's, even though Ben didn't play almost the whole second half, we didn't play pretty good offensively. But
I think that's definitely something we're missing when we watch our team compared to several other teams, and Seattle being one that's specific on Monday night. Like, I was thinking, you know, it's just they have such a will to win, and they're out there to take care of business. And it seems like when we watch Pittsburgh, it's just so sluggish, you know. And we've talked about it several times, but it's like I think that's.
And then on top, the different agenda is New England is like that too. You know, I think they just feel like an opportunity is going to happen, or they're disciplined and poised, and you know, a guy is rarely out of position. You know, they're not really crazy crazy rah-rah on the sidelines. I mean, they get that way, but Belichick's really cool, calm, and collected, you know, and he just – it's almost like when they perform, Belichick's like, yeah, that's what you get paid for. That's the expectations out of you, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Which is a great way, yeah. I like that, but
it's two totally different styles, and just Pittsburgh just needs to find it, get on their niche, get on a roll, and get going. They really do.
I think the one major thing at this point in time is we control our destiny at this point. You know what I mean? We can right now, like, this is it. We're a half game ahead. You know, we have tough games ahead of us, but it's up to us if we want to take it. If we want to lock in our position as the AFC as like the championships of the AFC North. You know, if we lose this game and the Ravens win, they control the destiny. It's out of our control at that point. You know, so I do think. Go ahead.
But the way it was looking, that's kind of what they were saying before the Raider game. You know, they're on a 2-game slide. They let the Chargers come back. Okay. To me, it was a must-win against the Raiders. I mean, you got to go into Oakland. You got to beat the Raiders. Yeah. I mean, we got 4 games left. You know, 2 against mediocre teams that I feel are mediocre. 2 against two high-powered teams that we have coming up. So, you know, you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. I mean, you got to do that. And then be competitive with the ones that you're pretty even with. Or, you know, you might be a slight underdog, but go in there and bust ass.
Yeah, that's the thing that I feel like I've said several times is, like, you never know what Steeler team you're going to get, because who knows, maybe they do come out like, you know, like as energized as Seattle looked, you know what I mean? And then we're a really competitive team at that point. You never know what you're going to get. You know, we could come out like that and whoop on New England, and, you know, and then all of a sudden the talk is, you know, Pittsburgh's resurgence. You know, they're coming back. You know, they're making that postseason push. It's just all a matter of mentality. You know, I do think I have a couple of things about Tomlin. Go ahead.
The thing is with New England, too, is it just seems like New England, you know, because they're so poised and everything, that they never panic. And they seem like they always find a way, and they always, even when they're down, you know, just like that Super Bowl against Atlanta, you know, they just one possession at a time. We'll take what they give us, you know, and they're just efficient. They're very smart, very intelligent. I mean, Brady's a very intelligent quarterback.
There's a lot of structure within that team.
Yeah, I don't believe our secondary is very smart. You know, we make a lot of mistakes, a lot of rookie mistakes, it seems like. And I mean, that's why Brady just, you know, I'm afraid he's just going to eat us up.
Yeah, with that being said, Gronk last week had a great game. Speaking of our secondary, Gronk, he caught 8 balls for 107 yards and a touchdown. The last 4 games against the Steelers, Gronk has had, the last 4 times we've met. So he's had 9 catches for 143 yards with a touchdown. Then the following time they met up, 5 catches, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. Then the next game, 4 catches, 91 yards for a touchdown. And then the last time we played him, end of last season, 9 catches for 168 yards. No touchdowns, but he's still just been a key factor for them every time.
Oh, yeah.
And he's had a bit of a Go ahead.
Yeah, the third down conversions, he's been huge on that for the Patriots, right? Against us. You know, just keeping those drives alive.
I just think like he's had a kind of a mediocre season, but against Miami, you know, he had a real good game, so I feel like that might carry over against Pittsburgh. And also Pittsburgh's allowing 144.2 yards per game when to the person lining up in the slot, and Gronk lines up 90% of the time in the slot. So there's it's in their favor there, you know, and like we talked about earlier, you know, New England's a great team. There's a lot of structure. Belichick's a great coach. Obviously they're going to see numbers like this and try to take advantage, you know, exploit their weaknesses. So I mean, it's going to be. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, also, I think, too, Pittsburgh's kind of hurting in the run game right now. So that's going to really hurt us for the time of possession.
Yeah.
So, you know, you kind of want to keep the game balanced as long as you can and keep those drives, kind of, you know, get that time of possession up there to keep Brady off the field. And hopefully when they come back on, you know, hopefully you can get a 3 or maybe a 6-play drive and out or something like that to, you know, get us some decent field position. But it's just, with us throwing the ball so much, we just leave so much time on the clock, you know, and that could come back and hurt us as well. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think we can score on them, and obviously I know they'll be able to score on us. So it's just pretty much They come to the last possession.
Yeah, a lot of the stats. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stats that are kind of not in Pittsburgh's favor. One stat that I saw that I really liked, this year, the Patriots are Patriots 3-4 on the road, and they're only averaging 23 points a game, which is 23 is quite a bit, but they're 3-4 on the road. You know what I mean? So they're not doing too great on the road. Steelers are averaging 30 at home. Steelers are averaging 30 at home. So I don't know. The odds are in our favor there. But another thing to be brought to the attention is like Chris Boswell's comments today were a little disheartening as a fan. Definitely raised some alarms for me when he said he's talking about how his struggles as a kicker. He says a lot of it's mental, and I think if any player ever says anything about like a mental block, that's when it's like a major red light for me, because confidence is key if you're an athlete, in my opinion. So what do you think about that?
Oh, I think the whole team has freaking mental issues, to be honest with you. I'm telling you, the media says it. You get all drama going on all week long, and I mean, it's almost like they project what they hear onto themselves.
Right.
That's exactly what they do. It's just absolutely ridiculous. They don't say, "Oh, the media's saying this, so I'm going to do this," or "The stats are against us here. We're going to, persevere here and change this." But no, they get all wrapped up into it, and the drama's there, and they act like they're going to change it, and they just go in there and they just play right into it. I mean, I think it's almost projected. I mean, they get worried about it so bad mentally that they start believing it.
Yeah, that's that I think ties back to what we were talking about last week too, and a leadership aspect is that shows. We talk, when I think of Patriots, I do think of a lot of structure, and last week when we talked about leadership, it's like that's when leadership there's so many keys to leadership on a sports team, I feel like. And a big case is like the mentality aspect of it is like the media and handling the media and, giving your team a direction and then getting everyone to buy into this idea, and I feel like we don't have anybody that's really, the guy for that, the captain of the ship, I guess you could say, so,
And another thing too.
Go ahead.
I don't think we have guys who study film. It just doesn't seem like, a lot of other teams that I've heard talk, and even old Pittsburgh teams talk, they talk about how they just be in there studying film all the time, Their linebackers were constantly, the Steelers linebackers were in there studying film, getting any edge they could. And I just don't hear much from our linebackers. I mean, I really don't hear. I just don't think they're really students of the game.
Yeah.
I need to go in there and figure something out, watch their own films of how they perform themselves. It's just, lack of playmakers, mental mistakes, mental.
That's I hate to keep referencing like the Seahawks game because there are several good games, but that like Bobby Wagner really stood out to me. He was like, to me, like that energized me as a fan watching him. I just felt like I was like a part of the game. Like I just felt like I was really into it. Like I was just like a part of that. Every time he made a play, it was just exciting. Watching him tackle, watching him just do anything, I really enjoyed. And that also brings me to like this Frank Clark, who's out here like making comments like the Richard Sherman era is over. This is my team. We don't care who you are. We don't care who that is. Like he's done. I'm taking over the secondary. I run this. You know what I mean? And so that to me is like I love seeing players go after it like that, where they like own that. You know what I mean? And they want you to know that this is my real estate. We don't have any players that have an attitude like that, or like really just even they just kind of go with the flow.
Well, yeah, you watch some of those defenses like Seattle's, a very good tackling team. You watch, like I was watching the Rams-Chicago game. Chicago, it just seems like, because of course I watch every Steeler game. Mm-hmm. The Chicago Bears, I mean, they have a hand in the passing lane. They have a hand inside the receiver's hands, challenging the receivers for every ball. They're right there. And when they do catch it, they don't hardly get any yards after the catch. I mean, just really good fundamentally tackle, mm-hmm. and it's just, we don't get any of that at all.
Yeah, when you say yards after catch, it makes me think of, there has been several plays this year that like haven't been blown dead or whatever, but the refs sometimes call it back. Like that Raiders running back, that Richard or whatever, gets tackled, rolls over our defensive lineman, continues running, and our players are just like, oh, he's running. Like, all right, it's like
everybody just assumes he's down.
Yeah,
you don't got all guys rush into the ball. And that's another thing. You see Chicago, Seattle, some of the other good defense, they all rush to the ball. You see all the defense going to the ball.
And then watching
we're just kind of we have a lot of guys standing around.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of guys on the ground. I mean, you'll watch our team. We'll have a guy on the ground that we tackle, and there's a lot of guys running down and jumping over him. You know, I mean, obviously they're not going to hit him, but a lot of guys standing up, not making plays, not getting there where they should. And
that feeling as a fan sucks because you really are hoping to get bailed out, which I think is the ultimate worst feeling. Because when I want to win games, I want to win them. I don't want to I essentially just don't want to be bailed out of like stupid shit that shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So It's like they're replaying that, and I'm like, oh, fingers crossed his elbow hits the turf or whatever, you know, or like I hope his knee touched somewhere. It's like, no, I want to feel like we secured it, you know, every time. But
a guy has get in there and clean it up. It's like we let the guy wrestle down, and he's on top of a body, and we're all just turning our backs to it like the play's done, and he's not really down at that point. Yeah, you know, where you see other.
For a minute, I thought he wasn't down until they showed the replay. His elbow barely touched the turf, and I'm like, okay, thank goodness, you know what I mean? But for a minute, I was like, he did roll over the defensive lineman, got up, and just ran to the end zone, and 30-yard touchdown for free because we're just giving up on the play. But anyways.
I want to share this stat real quick, though.
Yeah.
Talking about New England, Pittsburgh, you know, as we talk about how, you know, we always hear on the Pittsburgh side of it that New England's always been our block to go to the Super Bowl. We always have to get past New England. Pittsburgh can't get past New England. But I just want to say, since we went to the Super Bowl in 2008 against the Arizona Cardinals, we have only played against the Patriots in the playoffs one time in the last 10 years. One time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, we've got it in the regular game, but we've only played them one time. And that was just 2 years ago in the AFC Championship game where they beat us. I think it was like 36 to 17.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and New England went on to the Super Bowl. That's the only time.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how you think this. There's been a lot more playoff games against these two teams, but there really hasn't, just one in the last decade. Yeah. What's weird is Baltimore and Denver have been you know, bigger nemesis to both Pittsburgh and New England in the playoffs. Besides, I think the New York Jets beat the New England Patriots, I think, like in 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, it's just like, it's crazy to think that, you know, this rival's bigger than what it is in the playoffs, but it really hasn't really internalized.
It's definitely been built up as if they've played in the postseasons every other year.
I know, it really crazy.
One more thing I want to cover too before we wrap this up is I found a couple super cool Tomlin statistics that, like, if you were on the fence about maybe Tomlin being on the hot seat, that's fine. These stats spoke to me in a way that kind of persuaded me in one way or another. Tomlin has only had 3 playoff wins in the last 7 years. Also, from 2009 to 2007, we have had a .219 win percentage against teams under 500, which is equivalent to 25 and 89. When we play teams under 500, we've won 25 and lost 89 of those games in the last 10 seasons or whatever, you know, which rings true to your point, which you have always said to me as long as I can remember, is we always play to our competition, you know, and that just shows we've been in the playoff. I mean, we're a successful team, you know, and we just continue to lose to teams under 500. We just can't get it done.
Right.
And 31% of Tomlin's regular season wins are against either the mediocre Bengals every year or the Browns, who have been shit the last 10 years, to be honest, which is equivalent to 38 wins, 8 losses, and 1 tie. So those are just a couple stats I found today on Tomlin that I was like, wow, like if you kind of on the if you were kind of on the fence, as if maybe if you're on the fence, like maybe he should be on the hot seat, maybe he shouldn't. That to me tells me maybe he should, because you know the 3 playoff wins in the last 7 games or last 7 years is shitty, but like the under 500 stat to me like is a big deal.
That's a huge one to me. That's one that I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we get a lot of wins because our division's weak. You know, the bottom half of our division is usually weak, and we're always battling against the third team, whether it be Cincinnati on the rise or Baltimore on the rise. You know, we've always had the Browns that are real low, and either Cincinnati or Baltimore are really low. But I think that just shows lack of preparation. Yeah. I mean, you go in there and you're losing the teams below 500, you know, and I think we've been above 500, you know, or only been 500 a couple of years. Other than that, we've been above 500, you know, and 13-3 last year, which was probably one of Tomlin's better years record-wise. You know, but it's just, I think it's just a sign of preparation. You know, we just, We're not very good at, like that goes to film study, all that kind of stuff. I just don't think we're putting in the little stuff, the little things, the little pieces of work that we need to do. We just need to get more disciplined. I mean, somebody's going to have to crack the whip. And I think the defensive coordinator has to go.
Yeah.
We're 13 last year. Our offense wasn't even an issue. Our defense has been an issue for the last 4 or 5 years, especially our secondary.
Uh-huh.
And we keep our defensive coordinator, Offensively, we were one of the top offenses last year.
Yeah, the argument to be made last year, I remember the argument was being made that like maybe we should keep Haley and fire the defensive coordinator because I think we lost that Jags game 45-42 or whatever. I don't know. I don't quite remember the score, but it was one of those things where it's like the defense let him put 45 on us. Ben did give him some extra possessions, but it's like the argument was valid. I mean, you could also say Ben gave them 5 more possessions and still put up 42 on them. So it's tough, and I think that all just, I think there's got to be. What's up?
Butler's got to go.
Butler's
got to go.
Yeah.
Tomlin will stay. I mean, it's hard to get rid of a coach. I mean, we know the way Tomlin is with the leniency or whatever, but and he talks the good talk at his press conferences, and he doesn't really walk the walk in the action of it.
I would love Tomlin if he actually walked the walk, right?
But exactly, yeah. I think this year for sure we're going to get rid of Butler.
Yeah.
We'll keep Tomlin because, like I said, he's a winning coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's, we probably don't have very many alternatives. Who else we can bring in?
Yeah.
I've done a good enough job to be able to survive, but he needs to either get his hands on that defense a little bit and change some things up, or like I said, Butler's going to be gone at the end of the season. I almost guarantee Butler's gone.
Yeah, I hope so. My favorite quote from Tomlin of all time though is when he walked over to the defensive backs like 4 years ago, and I remember he yelled at him. He's like, "If another ball gets through this secondary for 20 yards, I'm going to rip your eyelids off." He yelled that to all the defensive backs, and that's the one time I felt like I was really like, yeah, that reminds me of like the Frank Clark thing where he's like, "This is my secondary now." You know what I mean? It's like one of those moments where you're like you're just ready to go. It kind of amps you up as a fan, And
but the problem, we haven't had a pick yet. Still,
I know. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I can't remember the last time we got a clean pick.
Yeah. We've had several clean looks.
Challenging the receiver. We need to challenge these receivers and tight ends and backs. Our defense just doesn't want to challenge anybody. We just like to sit back and just. I mean, we need to be aggressive and challenge.
I think the biggest argument to keep a coach would be the culture they've established, that you don't want to lose a winning culture or anything like that. But I feel like I don't feel like I don't know. It's a tough call because he's kind of established a winning culture, but not in the sense of a structured winning culture. You know what I mean? It's very sporadic, and it's tough to watch at times. But I mean, moving on from that point, I think Pittsburgh will stay with Boswell through this week after having tryouts today. I think they're just worried about that 4-year extension they gave him over the summer and the $5 million hit it's going to have on our cap next year. Because it looks like they didn't sign nobody, they didn't take care of anything today. So I don't know. I'm expecting to see Boswell on the field on Sunday. And honestly, for me, I would hope that he has a short memory and he's out there thinking this is redemption. I'm going to show him why they signed me and why I need to be here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up, Dad?
No, hey, that's it. So.
All right, man. It's going to be a good game on Sunday. I'm excited. Hopefully Pittsburgh takes care of it.
Yeah, it'll be. Our backs are against the wall. Every win's a must-win now.
It's
playoff start,
The secondary.
Right now, the playoff.
We got to show up.
Yep.
But all right, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you again, Dad.
You bet, man.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. See you later. Thanks, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or anything to leave down below, feel free. We love to look. We love to take your questions. We love to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So let's go. Anything else to add?
That's it.
That's it. Right on, guys. Take care.
See you Sunday.